Hey creative people, and welcome to the Makerspace. This is the channel where we create all sorts of fun things by combining mechanical design, graphic art, and model making skills. Today I've got a really cool project for you I think you're going to enjoy. I'm going to combine vector art, lasers, and an ammo can. That's right, an ammo can. And you're probably wondering, what are you going to do with an ammo can and a laser? Well, I'm going to show you. We're going to be creating a unique, one-of-a-kind gift item for a friend of mine today. And it's something that you can do as well if you have access to a laser. And ammo cans are very inexpensive. You can find them in a variety of places like Tractor Supply, Home Depot, all sorts of different venues have them. But it's limitless what you can do with these ammo cans. You can label them if you want to put things in them and store them out in your workshop, or in this case, like we're going to do today, create really unique gift items that you can give to your friends and family. So the tips that I'm going to share with you today are going to make sure that you get a guaranteed perfect result every time. This is really crucial when you get a personal item from somebody that they want you to engrave something on. You definitely don't want to mess that up. I mean, your only option at that point is to replace the item for this customer. And if it's an expensive item, boy, that can get really pricey. So you don't want to do that. So I'm going to share with you some tips today that I use to guarantee a perfect result every time. Before we get started, I wanted to welcome you again to the Makerspace and to let you know that I'll be using Windows 10, CorelDraw X6, and my Epilog 32EX 120 watt CO2 laser. So to begin, we're going to import our object. I've already selected it from my desktop. I'm just going to right click and paste. This is our first raster image that we're going to convert to black and white so that we can laser engrave this on our ammo can. So this is just a little bit larger than my 8.5 by 11 layout. So what I do is I just hold down the shift key and I drag one of the four corners to resize the object. There we go, that's good. And one of the first things you notice is that this object isn't really black and white. It's a halftone grayscale raster illustration. And you can also see it's very pixelated. So that isn't going to help us at all when we go to laser engrave this. We need to make it really nice and sharp and crisp, and we can do that by converting a raster image to a vector image. And one of the tools that we have available to us is contrast enhancement. I'll show you how that works. It's also only available while this image is in a raster format. Once it's in a vector format, we won't have that option available to us. So we're going to use it here now, and I'll show you why in a second. We go up here to Effects, Adjust, Contrast Enhancement. Let's just move this over to the side so we can see what's going on here. So here's our illustration, grayscale, and we want to make it black and white so that we can convert that easily into a vector, a black and white vector. So here we have some little diamonds that you can drag. You can drag these left and right. If we take this one, for instance, and we drag it to the right, it kind of makes everything lighter. And conversely, if we drag this one to the left, it'll make everything darker. Up here, if we drag this one to the right, you can see, look at that. See, it's starting to make the gray a little bit blacker and the black, or the darker gray, even more black. If we continue to drag this to the right, you can see the changes that are being made here. Let's drag this over to like, let's say 150 and see what that looks like. There we go. That looks great. Now that is pretty black and white. I like that. So we're going to say OK. And if we zoom in, you can see it is definitely black and white. It's also definitely jaggy, and that's not what we want. So that takes us to the next step. Let's convert this to a vector image. So to do that, we go up here to the bitmaps here. Go down, you'll see in the outline trace, you'll see clip art. Click on that. And now a new program pops up within CorelDRAW called PowerTrace, and it'll do its best to convert this raster image that we've just darkened up here to a vector image. And using your scroll wheel on your mouse, you can zoom in and out, and you can see it's done a pretty good job. It can do a little bit better, and we can clean that up. Now the PowerTrace will sharpen an image based on the level of detail. And that is over here on this little slider bar. If you see here, if we go all the way to the Not all, well, let's go all the way. To the left, there's no detail on that illustration. As we start sliding this to the right, Power Trace picks up more and more detail, as you can see. So what I usually do is slide that all the way to the far right. That's the maximum amount of detail. And now smoothing, if we smooth these things over, you'll see here, if we go all the way over, it does a wild job of trying to smooth things out. If we go to the other way, it'll make it kind of jaggy. If we go all the way, it'll basically be like the raster image. So we want some level of smoothing on here. I usually, for an illustration like this, I usually like 2, just a little bit of smoothing. There we go. And I usually leave the corner smoothness at 0. Now it's looking pretty good. So now what we also want to do is make sure we have delete original image checked off. That will remove the image that we had started with from the background. Otherwise, there would be one on top of another. The vector that we created would be on top of the raster that would be underneath it. We want to go ahead and just delete that, so we'll check that box there. We also want to remove the background, so you can see here, if we zoom out a little bit, you can see here the background has been removed. This is also really handy if you're going to convert this to a PNG file and you want transparency in your illustration. I go ahead and just remove backgrounds as sort of a default. And we also want to click on Remove Color from Entire Image and select OK. There you go, and look what we've just done. That looks much better. Now, the one thing that is a little bit tricky to understand when we're engraving something into a painted surface, like in the case of our ammo can. The ammo can is basically, it's a raw aluminum can that has been painted olive drab green. And what we're going to do with the laser is we're going to use the laser beam to remove the olive drab green paint wherever there's black. So anywhere where there is black in our illustration, the laser is going to remove that from the ammo can. If we just did it like this, it would look pretty weird. And I can show you what that would look like here. It would look like this. This is how it would look if we just did it normally, as we've just converted it to the vector format and engraved it. And if this is the look that you're going for, that's great. But I think what we want to do is invert our image. And if we did that, the image would look like this. That is really what we want. So what we need to do is invert our image. To do that, we just select on this image. We go up here to Effects, Transform, Invert. And now everything here that's black will be engraved, or in essence the paint on the ammo can will be removed wherever we see black. And that would give us the effect that we're going for. You can see here this was black in our illustration. The laser removed it from the ammo can surface, and that's what we end up with. So that's what we're going to go for. So now our first image is done. The only thing that we need to do is add a tagline under here. The tagline was the motto of my friend's military unit. I'm going to add that tagline underneath that, and then we can save these two images together and import those in when we go to laser engrave them. So let's go do that next. All right. So here I have the tagline put in its proper location. And what I've done is I've taken the liberty of measuring the ammo can and just drawing a crude outline. You can do that by going over here to the freehand tool and then drawing the outline of the ammo can. What I did is I just took some crude measurements and I drew the shape just so I could lay out the artwork on the side of the ammo can and place it exactly where I want it. So that one is looking good, and now we can go ahead and create our second one. And what I want to show you is how we can take advantage of the illustration here, in this case the ammo can outline, take advantage of this illustration that we've done, mirror it over so that we can use it to place the artwork that we're going to put on the second side of the ammo can. So this object right here is all grouped together, and what I'll do is I'll just Control C, Control V. Now that pastes a copy of the ammo can right on top of itself. And now holding down the Control key, we can click on this middle box right here, click and drag it over to the right, and there we go. Now it's placed. We have a mirror image now. What I want to do now is move this box over so that it's not touching up here like we see it doing right here. So to do that, you can click and drag it to the right and then hold down the Control key while you're dragging. You can see here, as long as I'm holding down that Control key, it'll move that object in a straight line. And then what I do is I let go of the mouse button first and then let go of the Control key. And there we go. We have a copy of it placed, and it's in line with the other object here on this side. And now we're ready to place our illustration on this side of the ammo can. So let's do that next. Okay, so same as before, I've gone ahead and copied the raster image that I had on my desktop. I'm going to right click and paste it into our illustration. Then holding down the Shift key, I'm going to click on the outer box and drag it down to fit it into my 8.5 by 11 layout. I can also shift and drag it back out a little bit just to make it kind of max out here. Hit the letter P to see that it's in the center of the page. And here is our illustration for our second side. So this one is in color, so we're going to have to go about this one a little bit differently than the other one that we did, which was kind of a grayscale that we converted to black and white. That's why I wanted to show you all the steps involved with this one. So what we need to do here is I need to remove this upper part that says Ranger in yellow. So this one I'm going to go ahead and go to Bitmaps, Outline Trace, Clip Art. All right, I'm going to drag my detail up to maximum amount all the way. I'm going to put the smoothing here at 2, and there we go. So this one here, what I need to do is I'm going to go to Arrange, Ungroup All. And the reason that I did that is when it turned the raster image into a vector image, it made every one of these little objects here its own shape. See here? That's how a vector image is constructed. It's basically little shapes, one on top of the other, in whatever order is necessary to create your illustration. So all of these little shapes and all that are all now individual shapes that can be edited or removed or whatever. You can change the colors on them like we're going to do here in a second. But in this case here, like I said, I need to remove that Ranger badge that's up at the top. So I'm just going to window all of those objects and then delete them. So now we have those gone. I see here there's a gray background in there. I'm going to delete that. All right, and now this right here, this shape needs to come down so that it just borders the red like it's doing right here. See how we've got a little offset here all the way around? So there's a couple ways we can do that. If I click on it one time and then go over here to the shape tool, click on that, you'll notice that there's nodes all along this object. They're all the way around this shape that I've selected. And it's that way for each individual shape. You select it, those nodes will come up here and they're visible to you. Those can be edited. I'm going to go back to this black shape here. And what I want to do is, I don't need these nodes that are in the middle, I just need the ones that are on the two ends. So I'm going to window those and select them. I don't need this one, and you're going to see why here in a second. And let's see, I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and delete this one, and we'll delete this one. All right, so I can window these two nodes now, and then holding down the Control key, remember that moves things in a straight line, either up and down or left and right. Holding down the Control key, I'll click on that node and drag it down and kind of eyeball it till I'm about the same offset distance. There we go, that looks pretty good. All right, now zooming in, you can see here it's got a little anomaly that needs to be repaired. And what I'm going to do is delete this node here. And it did a pretty good job. All right. If we click one time on a node, you can see now it has these little arrows that can be dragged. You can do all sorts of things with these. So in this case, I just want to kind of straighten that back up. That's pretty good. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. I've got that little whoop-de-doo here, little jaggy. I'll delete that node, click on this, and pull this in. You can pull it in and up. There you go. Whatever it takes. Now this one here can be dragged up. And you can see it's just kind of moving these things around. Let's maybe offset this a little more. Pull that in. That looks really good. Probably need to do the same thing over here. Just pull that over a little bit. Move that in. Move that up. Zoom out and see what we've got. That looks great. Okay, I'm happy with that. Okay, so that's what I need. I just need to make sure that this is black and white. So this red has to come out. This red needs to be white. So what I can do here is go over here to this eyedropper tool, click one time on that, and you'll see here if I go over, let's go over the red. See how it shows up red? It says 208, 52, 56. Now those are the RGB values here for that particular red. Likewise with white, we can see it says 254, 254, 254. Now that is the RGB representation for white. 254 is a total lack of any color. 0 would be totally black. If all three values were 0, 0, 0, that would be true black. If we go here, we can see that this black is actually not a true black because those values are 32, 30, 30, not 0, 0, 0. All right, so what we want to do is we want to change that red to white. And we know that this white is white because it's 254, 254, 254. That's true white. So we're going to click one time on that. And now notice, if I go over here to the red shape, we have a paint bucket with a white box. Now here's something you've got to really look out for when you're doing this. You don't want to be anywhere near the edge. See how if I go near the edge, that solid white box turns to an outline? That's telling me that it would change the outline that's going around that red to white. All right, so we want to turn these objects black and not this sort of hybrid black that we're seeing right now. In order to do that, we're going to click on it one time. We're going to go over to this paint bucket icon, which is our fill tool. Click on it, go to uniform fill, and now you can see that that value, that black, is not really black. It's 32, 30, 30, not 0, 0, 0. So we can change it a couple ways. We can do it this way by going to 0, 0, 0, and that'll be black. Or we could go back here to the uniform fill tool. We could change that black value from RGB, click on this up here, go to grayscale, and you can drag this up and down. If it's dragged all the way to the bottom, right here where it shows 0, we know that that's black. We can click on that, and we know now that that's black. We also know that these objects here are not black, so just quickly we can go back to our eyedropper tool. See, look at that. It says gray with a value of 0. That's black. And we can just click one time and now click on these objects and change those to black. And we'll just do these little interior shapes just to make sure. There we go. And we've probably got these two here. Yep. All right. That is black and white. Okay, now here's something I want to show you. These objects, like I showed you earlier, can all be edited by going up here to our shape tool, clicking one time on those objects, and then dragging these nodes around. You can do that to all of these objects. You can also take advantage of that once this object has been exploded or ungrouped, and you can move these shapes around like I showed you. See, you can see how these shapes were just laying right on top of that black shape. If we go to undo, 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 there we go. We'll put our objects back in here. So that's how you can edit these shapes like I've shown you here. Now what we want to do is we want to group these back together again so that they're all one object. What we'll do is we'll just window everything. We'll go up here to Arrange, Group. And now if you look down here, you'll see it's 46 objects grouped together on one layer. So those are 46 individual objects all laying one on top of another in order to give you this illustration. And it's black and white now. So now we can import that in to our illustration. So now you can see that this object has been converted to black and white, and like our other illustration on the other side of our ammo can, this also needs to be inverted. So we'll go here, click one time on that object, we'll go to Effects, Transform, Invert, and there we go. And since it's grouped together, it's all going to move together as one unit. We don't have to worry about losing any little stragglers or little shapes that are kind of orphaned by moving them away. We'll hit the letter P to center that illustration in the middle of our page, and we're good to go. So now this can be copied and pasted into our layout that we've got going on here. All right, and we're back here to our layout with our two ammo can outlines, and we can go ahead and import our illustration in. There we go. And make sure that it's in the right location. So what we can do here is, I'll show you a quick trick here. If I want to make sure that these things are on the same line, I like to go over here to our freehand tool, click one time, let it snap to the text. You'll see here how it grabbed the bottom of that R. I'll click one time and drag it to the right, and now I'll hold down the Control key. And this line will drag in a straight horizontal line anywhere I place it on the screen. If I move it away from horizontal, it will snap in 15-degree increments all the way around any way I want in 15-degree increments. So this is really handy when you want to draw a straight line, or you want to draw something. Let's say here's 15 degrees, here's 30 degrees, you get the idea. So this is drawn straight across, click and drag, there we go, let it go. All right, and then we can window this illustration here, and using that same R with that same little node, we can drag it down until it snaps to that line. There we go. And now we can just click one time on that line that we used as our reference guide, delete it, and zoom out. And now we can zoom out and we can see the placement of our artwork. Now if we're happy with that, for instance, is it in the center of the can? It doesn't look like it is. So using that same kind of tool that I just used with the line, I'm going to go up here to the top of the ammo can illustration, move over till it snaps to midpoint. Click, hold down the Control key, and drag that straight down. I can window our illustration, click here, and drag till it snaps to that line. And there we go. Now we're in the center of our ammo can illustration. Again, click on the line, hit delete. And there we go. We've got our right and left sides placed perfectly where we want them. So now all we have left to do is the lid of the ammo can. We'll go ahead and do that artwork next, and we'll be able to export all of these onto our thumb drive and take it over to the laser. So let's do the lid of the ammo can next. So here I've got the front of the ammo can illustrated just like I did the side of the ammo can. The dimensions are good, so I can kind of hang my hat on those dimensions. I know that those are all good. They are the size of the ammo can. And I have my friend's name that I want to put the latch of the ammo can. So using the line tool that I showed you before, I'm going to go up here until it says midpoint, click, hold down the Control key, drag this line down. There we go. Going to zoom out a bit. Okay, I'm going to take the text, make the cursor snap to the center of the text, and drag it over right about there. Looks good. Let's let go of it and delete that vertical line. This is ready to go. So now I can take this illustration, Click and drag, hold down the control key, just move it over, and there we go. We have all three sides of the ammo can ready to go. So now we're done with these illustrations. The next step is to export them to our thumb drive, transport those over to our laser, and we'll set this job up for engraving next. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, now that we've got the artwork laid out, follow me over to part 2 and we'll start up the laser and put the ammo can in and get that process rolling. I'll meet you over there.